Yo, 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 what is up, everyone? This is your host, Ricky. Welcome to another episode of the Tales of Web3, Season 3, Episode 6. Today, we welcome our friend, Lito, head of growth at Bungee and Socket. Ethereum Maxi himself, and a crypto degen, been in the space for almost, 6 years. But
Right.
welcome, my friend.
Thank you, man. Love the energy. It's actually funny that you call me an Ethereum Maxi. I don't know. I definitely love Ethereum and, super passionate, been in that community for ages and love a lot of the values that originate from that community. But yeah, I don't like the term Maxi so much just because it has like a negative connotation. It's definitely my passion. But I'm also not like antagonistic to other, blockchains or communities and so on. So yeah, like you'll notice if you look at my Twitter, I never kind of FUD or
Yes.
try to put other ecosystems in a bad light or something. But I'm definitely kind of very focused on Ethereum, I'd say, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Why don't we start a little bit more about how you jump into the crypto rabbit hole back in 2016 or 2017? That's the time
For
you
sure.
get into it, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly. It was about 2017, early 2017. And I was like at university or like just kind of at this transition phase, leaving university. I had been exposed to crypto throughout university. I was very interested in like tech and entrepreneurship and so on. And I was part of this entrepreneurship club, and there was this guy who kept talking about Bitcoin when we did like, we had this like open sort of talking rounds, discussion rounds, and he kept talking about Bitcoin. And I was just thinking this guy was crazy. That was like 2015, I think, or something. It sounded completely crazy to me, but also kind of interesting. So, but yeah, so I was exposed to it. I had heard of it and so on, but it was only really 2017 that I went down the rabbit hole myself. And that was during the whole like ICO phase. I had just joined PayPal after university, which was my first job
Nice.
after university. And, so I was very exposed to that whole like finance, payments, tech space. And within PayPal, there were a lot of other people that were also interested in crypto and the ICO phase, bubble, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, during that time, I started really exposing myself to these ideas and, reading through white papers and so on. And there were like a few projects that piqued my interest more than others. It was a lot of it was like, for me, what really clicked was the payment use case, right? Like it was so obvious working at PayPal that like the financial infrastructure on which we were kind of building was like really bad, especially for cross-border payments. Like PayPal, a lot of people don't know this because they use PayPal in the US or something, and they just use it to pay for like some item on an e-commerce shop or something, and that just works, right? Like a US bank
Yes.
account, it's connected to a PayPal account, one-click checkout, whatever. But like you try to use PayPal for cross-border payments, and you'll realize that it's actually not better than the banks, right? Like it's super,
I feel you.
The FX fees and so on are insane. And I knew kind of the reasons why that was the case, and was very interested again in the whole like payment stack. And so for me, it clicked, right? When I saw you have like this ledger, which is open to anyone, that's like, global like the internet, and anyone can connect to it and just start to use it to transfer assets, not just the native crypto assets of these ledgers, but also other tokens, right? At the time, they were starting to talk about this with Ethereum, especially, that you could like tokenize other assets such as fiat currencies and stocks and bonds and so on, and that you'd be able to just use them or transfer them at the speed of light or whatever, like at a much higher speed and lower cost than traditional methods. And yeah, that was just insane to me. And I got super passionate. After like 9 months, I left PayPal to first I did a little stop, kind of learning to code and so on for like
Oh,
4 or
nice.
5 months.
So technical
Yeah, and
now.
then, well, a little bit, not
Little
crazy,
bit.
but a little bit, definitely more than I was back then, and it helped me a lot. Also, gave me confidence to dig deeper into the technical stuff on the crypto side. Um, but yeah, like after that, I joined a crypto startup in Berlin. I
Nice.
absolutely wanted to go deeper into that space. That was right about the time when the whole ICO bubble exploded. So it was kind of a funny timing because a lot of people were like, "What the fuck? You're like, you're jumping onto the sinking ship." All the companies were dying. It was really like the vibe at that time was like, this was all a dream. Now we're coming back to our senses. This was all like nonsense, basically, right? Like this was the consensus. But it turns out, as we know now, it wasn't just a dream. But yeah, back then it very much felt like that. So I joined this company. I was lucky because that company was sort of safely funded. The
I see.
founder had been like an early Bitcoin miner, and so he was kind of just bankrolling the startup for as long as he wanted. Like even though Bitcoin had come down, his cost basis was like $1 or whatever. So this guy was like massive even in the bear market, and he just bankrolled that startup. And so I worked there for like 3 years, which was about the time this bear market lasted, and so I was
Yes.
super lucky that I was able to double down on the space during a time where it was very hard to find a job in that space, right? Like and be paid for it and learn and grow my network and all of that. So yeah, and then kind of just survive in that space for the next thing, the next bull market, which was DeFi summer kind of that time.
2021, 2022.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think right now everything is a blur. I can't I don't have the whole timeline, but I think like Maker and stuff launched 2020. So it would DeFi summer started later, but like the beginning of DeFi on Ethereum was before that, and that was really the first that second epiphany kind of after just reading about the merits on a kind of theoretical level in 2017. Now was a second epiphany
Applications.
was like actually using some of these applications, right? The first apps like taking a loan on Maker and so on, and that was like I got super bullish and like left that startup and decided to build a company called Crypto Testers, which
Nice.
is or which was not, now it's changed focus a little bit, but back then it was mostly an education platform. So the idea was to create a lot of content around all of these emerging new concepts,
Nice.
like what is Maker, what is a stable coin, like all of it, like how does a DeFi lending protocol work, like really a lot of these basics. Started a podcast, did some video tutorials, like how do I create my MetaMask wallet, like these basic things. Just wanted to, had no like ideas about profit or anything. I just wanted to like onboard more people to this
That's nice. That's nice.
new industry. And then on the side, there was also this idea of creating something like you're from the US, you probably know Nerd Wallet. In Germany, we have something else called Check24. So these exist in all the countries in a similar in a similar way. They're like these price comparison or product comparison platforms. And so that was also the other idea with Crypto Test, is that we just compared all the different products, from wallets to crypto debit cards to like savings accounts, like like Nexus, BlockFi, and so on, but also the DeFi alternatives. So create this whole registry of products and help people choose products in crypto.
Nice.
And then so I did that about like 2 or 3 years. and or I can't remember. I'm just saying numbers at this point. Like it feels like 2 or 3 years. And this was again amazing because especially the podcast was like a really great way to like network, meet
100%.
founders,
100%.
invite them, just like you're doing now, right? Like we're getting to know each other. And yeah, for me, it was the same back then. And yeah, like did this for 2 or 3 years. And then eventually I joined, decided to kind of go deeper into a project on the operational side, like a DeFi project or on-chain project. And that was Hop. Hop was like the first bridge connecting different
Heard about
tools.
that. I actually tried that before.
Okay, yeah, many people have. Like I was the first employee there. We were the largest bridge at the time. You know, I had 100 million in TVL, and so that was super exciting. And then I think I was there about 2 years, and then I joined Socket because I was just very bullish on what the Socket team was doing, and there was a good fit there culturally and so on. I got along very well with the founders. So I've been working at Socket now for the last 2 years.
Nice.
On the side, I also do a lot of like angel investing in the crypto space, and crypto testers, as I said, still exist, but now it has changed focus. It's more like a community of OGs now. Gated, there's like 1,000 people in there, and it's like a lot of like angel deals that are brokered there, or like early, connecting these users with like projects at an early stage, early beta testing, this kind of stuff. So I'm managing crypto testers, lead growth at Socket, and a little bit of angel investing here and there on projects that I'm bullish on and where I want to work with the founders.
Nice. What kind of angel investment you do? Are you looking for more into like consumer applications? Are you looking more into infras? Any like particular taste that you got? Or is really the founders just, they have to be like,
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say at the early stage, it was really not so like principled.
It's just friend, right?
Right, or like I wouldn't say that there was like a thesis at the beginning, right? Because I've now, it's been like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years of angel investing. I think at the beginning it was like there was no coherent thinking behind it. It was just like, oh, you have a deal. I get to invest in a project at an early stage. Yeah, let's go. I'm in, right? Like,
dude, I feel you. I actually have similar feelings.
Exactly. That's how it is at the beginning, and then you learn, you adjust, and I would say today it's a bit. And to be fair, not all of these early investments were fails, right? I had some good experiences, some bad ones, and today I would say I'm definitely more interested in DeFi or consumer applications.
Nice.
DeFi, I would say, is my absolute focus because that's where I would say I have a lot of knowledge. I'm a power user in DeFi.
100%.
And I'm financially savvy and so on. So it just makes sense for me to invest in that sector. Also because I think it's the sector that makes the most sense in crypto, right? Like I've never been a big believer in a lot of use cases outside of DeFi and payments, right? Like I've never been a big believer in gaming. I've never been a big believer in like the metaverse.
It gotta be Fi. Everything in crypto has gotta be the Fi part.
100%. And to be clear, I don't want to like FUD gaming or like, I'm happy to be proven wrong there is what I'm saying. But DeFi is what I'm most bullish on. The rest needs to be proven, right? DeFi doesn't have to be proven. It's proven to work, right? And so definitely that's my focus. Consumer apps. Here and there, I invest in infra, but rarely. Only if I think it's really needed.
I see. Got it.
Yeah.
Please name your favorite consumer application you've seen in 2024, 2025.
So I'll say my favorite DeFi or like my favorite investment has been like Ethena, that's DeFi, but you could, it's hard to kind of like
it's hard to distinguish between DeFi and consumer
because
application,
like
actually.
in the end, right, like especially now they're going to build like a super simple savings account into the Telegram chat application, right? Like that's going to be distributed to millions of users who are just going to need to click a button to yield on their dollars, right? Like so you could say it's a consumer application, but that's my favorite. That has been my favorite investment. I think the founder, like both from a return perspective, but also from like a, I don't know, like how much I like it, right? Like it's or how much I like the product and the founder. Yeah, I think the founder is a beast. Super bullish on him, and I think it's poised for like a lot of growth in the years ahead. I think now with like Circle doing
they're doing a lot of the cool things with the big boys, like TradFi boys.
Exactly, yeah, and like the stablecoin narrative is getting hotter and hotter, and Ethena is like the best way for retail to get exposure to that growing sector. Like Circle, Tether, and so on, they don't have tokens, right?
I think that's so true.
Ethena is a better product from every point of or every perspective, I think. But like consumer application, I would say Polymarket is a really cool one. Like it's something that I have shilled to my friends, and they immediately wanted to use it and have used it.
It's literally the simplest way you can onboard users, because they just get it first second to see it.
Exactly. And I've even had friends who I didn't even have to shill it to. They had used it because I had heard about it from somewhere, and just use it by their own will, right? And so I think that's a good one. I'm also a big fan of a project called Courtyard, and again, this is from my investments. But
what did they do?
Courtyard is like tokenizing Pokemon cards and other physical collectibles. So
I love Pokemon cards.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, you should use it. Let me know. Honestly, all the people that have used it have loved it, right? Like, so in a very simple way, you can think of, why are stablecoins so popular in the world, right? It's because they're just tokenizing something very desirable, namely, US dollars in bank accounts, and making them accessible to everyone in the world, right? The same 100%. Thing can and making them more accessible, removing the friction of accessing dollars in a US bank account for people living everywhere else, right? The same thing is with Pokemon cards, right? Like Pokemon cards, it's a very fragmented market, right? There's like the US market, which is very big.
Yes, every country have their own, like, it's not
correct. And here it's like, it's, by tokenizing the physical collectible from the digital sort of certificate that's on the blockchain, you can actually like buy a Pokemon card very easily, sell it easily on chain. And
that's awesome.
The certificate, the digital certificate, can be redeemed any moment if the holder chooses to, but it's optional. They can redeem it against the underlying, right? And the underlying is stored in these like secure vaults by like a company that Courtyard works with. And they've created like gamified experiences around it, where you have like a vending machine. You can like rip a card, like
rip a
pack. You can buy a pack, and you can instantly sell it back if you don't like it. Like, it's super. They're super interesting. They have done $30 million of card sales in the last 12 months. So
they already got like the official authorization from like the Pokemon card, or they don't even need that.
So they don't even need that, basically, because they're doing the same thing as eBay does, right? Like,
I see. It's basically retail users have the right of like whether they wanted to put their card on chain or not.
Correct, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. What's the name of the projects again?
Courtyard.
Awesome. I'm gonna do some research because I like to collect some like Pokemon cards once in a while,
Yeah,
awesome.
Sure. Who doesn't?
Another interesting question that I just pop up in my mind. So as someone who's been in this space for 3 cycles now, right? Almost probably 4th cycle. Like, do you think crypto, like our industry, is still one of the best, if not the best, industry for younger generation? Let's say just fresh college grads or young people. Do you think this is still the best industry that they have a shot on, right? No matter in terms of like build a career or become a millionaire, like all these kind of stuff, right? Build a reputation.
Right.
Do you think? What do you think about this?
Yeah. It's a very good question. I've never thought about it in these terms, like whether it's a good opportunity to.
Yeah, because the reason why I ask is when you join, right? There's a lot of like wild shit, right? That the world have never seen, like ICOs, DeFi, and I would say people who get in early definitely benefited a lot, right? But right now you see Bitcoin, Ethereum ETF have all passed, right? And then a lot of people are saying, okay, maybe crypto already have a certain adoption. So that's the context of why I wanted to ask.
Right. I definitely think I think it's the best industry, full stop. It's the best industry to work in, full stop, right? Like, because the reason I'm saying this is like, personally, from my own point of view, like, it's just so fun to work in this industry, right? Like, there's so many days where I'm like, how fucking lucky am I to work in this industry? I don't know, it's so informal, right? Like, I work in a company, but like, I'm mates with everyone in my company. We get along super well. It's no like formality. We're just
100%.
Friends vibing together and so on. Like, the only kind of corporate experience I have is, and it's not even the worst, right? It could have been worse, was at PayPal. And like, if I compare the two environments, I'm like, hell yeah, every day I would choose to work in crypto over like that other world. And the saying, right? There's never a dull day in crypto. Like, every day there's something crazy happening.
Dude,
and
that's so true. Every day I wake up, I know that exactly, like, there's gonna be some wild shit that happening right out of my
exactly. So like, where else do you get this, right? Like, it's an industry where we're just together on Twitter, having fun, learning stuff together. And for me, I'm someone, I just want to be entertained, right? Like, I don't like to be bored. I want to be intellectually stimulated. I want to have fun. All of this is a given, right? So it's the best industry to work in, full stop. Now, but your question was like, has the opportunity window?
Yes, for right now, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a newbie.
Compared to,
yes.
So I think definitely, like, I would be lying, I think, if I would be saying, it wasn't a better time to join 10 years ago, right? Like, just in terms of like, let's say,
I feel you. 100%.
Financial gains or something, or even the easiness at which you can build network. Back then, again, the space was small. It was easy to get to know everyone. But like, for example, like, financially speaking, right? You had to be an idiot if you didn't make gains from like 2017 to now, right? Like, I mean, you literally wouldn't have needed to be very, very bad at like investing if you didn't make
millions of dollars.
Or if you didn't build up your portfolio, right? So from that perspective, the opportunity window has shrunken. On the other hand, I would say that, like, a lot of people who joined early are burned out now, right? Like, I have seen a lot of people that joined early and they're like, they don't have any motivation anymore. They're like, this industry, as we talked about just before, it's never a dull day in crypto, but that also has some negative side effects, right? Like,
backslash.
It's very fast paced. It's emotionally draining and so on. So a lot of people who joined early, are burnt out now. And I think, people who join now actually join at the right time in terms of like the maturity of the underlying technology, right? Like, I think now is the first time, I've said this for the last 6 months or something, like, now is the first time I feel like you can actually build a consumer product that you can onboard normies do, right? In terms of, cheap block space, in terms of like gas abstraction, in terms of count abstraction, like, having
seamless UI,
self-custody, but with a good user experience.
Yes.
In terms of chain abstraction, in terms of like all these building blocks that are fiat on-ramps, like all these building blocks coming together to enable or to allow builders to build really good products. And so I would say now is actually the time to join if you're a good builder and you want to build a successful application. I think the next couple of years are going to be about like, I would just dub it like the fat application era, right? Like having instead of like the fat protocol era before.
Fat infra.
Fat infra era, exactly. So I really believe that. And you start to see this with like applications, even though they're not my favorite application, but like, let's say pump.fun or even like, some Telegram bots and what else? I mean, Polymarket, I don't think is generating a lot of revenue. I think they're passing all the revenues to like LPs and so on. But I think there's a lot of like examples or an increasing amount of examples of applications that are generating substantial fees. And I think that will accelerate. And so I think if you're that kind of person, this is the perfect time to enter. And there's so many opportunities, right? To build an app, right? And also, even if you're not a builder, if you're just someone that wants to, work for a company. I mean, I'm from the point of view of a company executive or whatever you want to call it, and I know how hard it is to hire good talent. So even though the crypto industry has grown, there's still like a lack of really good, strong
top tier talent. Yes,
especially on the non-technical side, And so I think, it's a very good time to join.
That's awesome. I wanted to dig in the part when you shared like a lot of people who joined in early right now are burned out, and I completely feel that. The question for you is like, what do you think is the power of you that you are not burned out and you're still like super pumped every day building the space, right? Like, share a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to a couple of things, right? One, I guess personality-wise, I'm someone, I think I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of curiosity. So I'm always learning. I always want to continue learning about things. And with that attitude, you always keep yourself interested. You always keep going because there's always something new that you want to learn about. The journey never ends, kind of. And with that mentality, you kind of always dig for the new projects. You get to know the founders behind the project. So there's always something to do. The other thing I think is just and something honestly which I had to learn, because that was in the last bull market. I could definitely feel at some point that it took a toll on me. Not like I wouldn't call it a burnout or anything, but just I realized at the end I was like low on energy. I'd gained weight and all of this. So something which I learned and adapted was just to take breaks, right? Like like I've tweeted about this recently, but like, every morning religiously, I go out, get some vitamin D, walk in the sun,
nice,
do a workout, these kind of things, like, and then start the day with a clear head. And I think these kind of like healthy routines, and then like, meeting friends outside of crypto here and there.
You need social life. You cannot just sit in a small room.
Exactly. Doing this stuff, like having a routine that scales or that is sustainable is super important. Identify what that routine looks like for you, but being 100% in. I honestly, I know some people that are, for example, now this cycle, the trench warriors, the meme coin guys. Last summer, it was like the DeFi, like the yield farmers, the full two people, whatever. There's always this one personality or persona that is just chronically online. They for 6 months to a year, they don't sleep, they don't eat, they're just on Advil and go hard. I think that mentality is
It's wrong.
is not long-term sustainable. Maybe it works for a small subset of people. Maybe some of them will, I don't know, will say it was worth it because they made so many gains or something. But for a lot of people, that isn't even true. They end up losing more than they
99% of people, or
put in.
99.9, they still lost.
For sure. So I think my mantra is like slow and steady wins the race. Or like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like this has always been my mantra. I've applied it, and I think this has kept me sane and kept me going. And yeah, I wouldn't want to have it any other way.
Dude, that's awesome. I share the exact same mindset. I think in our industry, everything is extremely fast-paced already. So what you really need to do is try to slow down a little bit for yourself. At least keep like a healthy, more sustainable routine. Right? Just get some exercise. Don't wake up, start to look at the chart, start to look at your portfolio.
Exactly.
It's not good.
One thing I would add as well is like learn how to kind of ignore things. One, ignore people. Like I've selected, like at the beginning of last year, I started to mute accounts that.
Oh my God, I started recently too. I mute like a lot of accounts every day if they're sending out like random weird information that I don't like. Right? It's not helpful.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me that was early last year. I just realized these accounts don't contribute in any way, shape, or form to my, I don't know, my education or happiness or whatever you want to call it, and so just like ignore people, but also ignore like in certain projects or noise where it's like a short-term fad, and it's just a lot of distraction for nothing in the end. Just 100%. Ignore the thing, even if you feel like FOMO for a couple of weeks or something. Just be fine with it, accept it, move on, and don't let it go to your head and be sort of resentful or regretful because you've missed that opportunity or something. Just
there's always the next.
Block out a lot of things. Keep it simple.
Something I realized lately is like a lot of these FOMO source of FOMO, they just want your attention. If they get it, they win, right? If they didn't, you win. So you just have to be more selective. All right, let's talk more about Socket and Bungee, the amazing protocols that you guys are doing right now. So from my understanding, Socket is more on like the protocol level, right? It's like an interoperable like chain abstraction protocol, where Bungee is a swap bridge. Right. Correct. Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what are you guys building, and what are some exciting things that you guys are going to launch soon?
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of summarized that perfectly. Socket is the underlying protocol. Bungee is an application that's built on Socket, and there's many other applications that are either already built or being built at the moment on Socket. I think we've always been about simplifying or taking friction out of the multi-chain or fragmented crypto world, right? Like early on, 2.5 years ago, that was just by aggregating different bridges and sort of ingesting them into one simple API.
Yes,
which allowed users to switch or to bridge assets from one chain to another and get the best quote. So a bit like a 1inch, but for bridges. And so that got integrated into all the wallets, like Coinbase Wallet, MetaMask, Rabby, Rainbow, Zapper, Zerion, like all of them use Bungee essentially, right? Like this API. And then we have our own front end, Bungee.exchange, which also, again, just exposes that functionality of bridging. So that was our first attempt at taking friction out of this fragmented crypto space, making it easier for people to move assets between chains. And now, like we've with the chain abstraction protocol, we just have sort of like we're taking this to another level, right? Like whereas before we just kind of enabled people to push assets between chains, now we actually want to abstract the chains away completely.
Nice.
And this will take many shapes and forms, but like just to make this very tangible, like one product that we're building at the moment on top of this chain abstraction protocol is what we call like Magic Spend Plus Plus or unified balance.
Magic Spend, nice.
Yeah, it's this concept of like sort of allowing users to have a unified wallet balance, that instead of having like, 100 USD on Optimism, 100 USD on Arbitrum, and 50 USD on Ethereum, you'll just have like 250 USDC in your wallet, right? And there's no concept of like,
if I wanted to do a DeFi Arbitrum, I can just do the 250 USDC directly, all in one click.
Exactly. For all intents and purposes, you can use this balance as a fungible USDC balance. And if you want to do a transaction like a deposit into a lending pool on Arbitrum, you can just do that transaction as if your funds were there in its entirety and with no added latency. There's no bridging happening under the hood or anything. It's pure chain abstraction essentially. It's not like a Zap. A Zap is a bit different because a Zap is kind of like, okay, you don't have USDC on Arbitrum. Okay, then let's just bridge it, and then we do the bridge and the deposit in one transaction. So there's a little abstraction happening, but it's not real abstraction. There's still like a bridge happening under the hood, and there's
so you guys don't even need the bridge underneath.
We don't need the bridge, exactly. So
holy shit! Because dude, that's actually crazy. Because a lot of the chain abstraction, from my understanding, right, my naive understanding is actually you only abstract the user experience on the front end. On the back end, all the bridge and stuff, like the old shit, still happen, So what you're saying is that everything on the back end is completely rewired too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Damn.
So in this example, for example, what would happen is actually that the funds on the source chains. So here we're talking about multiple source chains because the user has like USDC on Optimism and on Ethereum.
Let's use Arbitrum and Optimism for example.
Right, exactly. So here the 50 USDC on Ethereum and the 100 USDC on Optimism would be locked and in a vault essentially for the user, and in the same transaction some sort of agent would front the 250 USDC on Arbitrum. 100 USDC is already on Arbitrum from the user, as in our example, right? So, but like these, you can lock funds on multiple chains. That's completely abstracted away from the user, and because the funds are locked, the agent or the paymaster, there's different names to call this actor, they can just kind of like execute the transaction instantly without having to wait for a bridge or anything. They just front the payment, deposit the 250 USDC in the lending pool on behalf of the user, and then they get the money back on the source chains, the money that's locked in the vaults. They submit like a proof via socket to these vaults, and they unlock the 50 USDC on Ethereum and 100 on Optimism, and take 100 USDC on Arbitrum from the user. So they get the 250 USDC back. Maybe they take like
that's cool.
2 cents as a commission or anything or something like that, and then
that's cheap. That's cheap too,
Yeah,
2 cents.
100%. Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Exactly.
Okay, the question for you, right, as the head of growth at SOCKET Bungee is, I've seen some of your competitors, right? I don't know whether they are your competitors or not, but like there are chain abstraction protocols or like, abstraction protocols like Particles, right? Like Relay, they're doing bridge swap and stuff like that. A lot of them has already, I don't know how they make it work, but they made something happen in between the Solana world and Ethereum world, right? For example, if I have USDC or ETH on Base or any of the L2s, right? I can just do one instant swap, make that ETH into Sol or anything like that. I'm wondering, like, because when I check out the product, right, you guys are still focusing on the Ethereum world, so we'd love to dig a little bit deeper on that. Like, what is the reasoning behind, and we can dive a little bit deep about the Ethereum and Solana later on. But yeah,
for sure. So to unpack this a little bit, so first of all, like Relay is not really a chain abstraction protocol, right? Like they're bridge and swap.
Bridge swap.
bridge swap protocol, and so they would actually compete more closely with Bungee, which is just
Okay.
a subset of what we're doing. So Bungee and Relay are definitely like similar in nature. And to your question there, like we're actually at the time as we're speaking right now, like, you know, when we hang up, you'll see that we have launched Solana
Dude, that's cool.
So you'll see it on Bungee, and so to your question, right? Like this will be available to Bungee users as well. And the other stuff that we're talking about, like these, you know, I've talked about wallet abstraction or balance abstraction,
Yes.
but like you'll have this is different to the bridge and swap stuff, right? Like you'll have balance abstraction happening on Socket. You'll have like lending protocol abstraction where you have like, instead of having 10 different Aves with 10 different interest rates and so on, you'll have just one unified liquidity pool that works across all chains with one interest rate. So you'll have like everything will be chain abstracted, and so all of these things will be not like naturally. We want to abstract not just the EVM environment away, but also like different VMs, right? So we definitely want to. So this example of like balance abstraction, unified balance, like we definitely want a wallet to be able to offer the same user experience to their users, whether they use a token, whether they do an action on Solana or on Arbitrum or on Optimism, it doesn't matter. Like it's just that obviously as a team you need to prioritize things, and right now these features are being worked on the EVM, but we're definitely going to add Solana down the line.
Awesome.
Just
so what
as we have added Solana on Bungee, so it's just a matter of like.
What do you think about the sentiment around building on ETH and Sol? Right. Personally, I think both of them is not going to go anywhere. But obviously, on crypto Twitter, you see there's like pretty intense like war going on, right? Both sides. I would say the Solana guys wanted to take down the Ethereum guys. And like, what do you think? What do you think the landscape is going on, and what do you think about the future of Ethereum?
I think first of all, like it's business, it's competitive, it's by nature, right? And crypto especially is super tribal, right? So people feel very passionately about
their own tribe,
bags and their tribe and so on. And honestly, I'm a bit guilty of this as well, right? Like I've realized this over the last year or so, that because I started in Ethereum, and I started in Ethereum at a time where Ethereum objectively was the only legit thing, right? Outside of Bitcoin, right? Like, I mean, for a long time, that was the only thing that existed. And so and it's also what made me who I am, right? So like, which gave me wealth, which gave me network, which gave me everything. So you definitely feel very emotional about these things. And I remember when Solana kind of started getting attention and market share, I was getting very defensive and didn't like the feeling and so on. And I've actually completely sort of changed my attitude towards that and realized where this is all coming from. And today I'm much more sort of friendly towards Solana. There's a lot of people in the Solana community that I really respect. I became friends with Nerd, for example, who I really respect, and so on. I do think, and we're seeing this right now, like the sentiment on Twitter also has shifted towards Solana, right? Like I do think there's a lot of there's too much bullshit happening on that chain right now, and I have kind of said this on Twitter the last few days. Like I think to be taken seriously by people in crypto, they also need to work on their social layer and take a more sort of hostile stance towards a lot of the grifting and meme coin shit that's happening. And this is maybe like sounds like a consensus view today, but like 6 months ago, you were being crucified and being labeled a boomer if you were speaking out against meme coins, right? Or,
Yes.
meme coins sounds like an innocent word. It sounds like you're against fun. In a few examples, that might be the case that it's just fun. But in a lot of cases, it's not fun. It's just grifting.
I think the original purpose of meme coins are for fun, right? Because so the first few meme coins are started, right? Because people wanted to join a tribe, they find something fun, and they want fairness, right?
Right.
A lot of the bad things toward the VC coins are extremely high valuation. You got on big exchanges, they fucking dump you, right? And as a retail investor, you got dumped. So meme coins originally, I think the core value is you can be part of a community that you build, you own a share, and when it's get big, you got rich too. But then I realized like meme coins as a tool, right? A lot of people are starting to manipulate. It's super easy to manipulate. I don't really think these presidential coins are like real meme coins that people actually started in the beginning. It's completely not.
Exactly. They're not organic. Exactly. It's just inside our
yes, insider scientists, right? These are the only people who earn.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, completely agree. But so I do think that, like, for me, this activity has kind of made Solana less attractive than it would be if the applications being built on Solana were just, I don't know, better, more legit, and so on. The chain, I don't have anything against, right? Like I think you can build good applications on top of it, and it's trade-offs, right? But I also think, to your question, like, is it a good time to build on Ethereum or like Ethereum connected chains? I definitely think it's an amazing time. I actually think the EVM is getting stronger with every day, right? Like, it's the most battle tested. The developer ecosystem, the tooling, like, there's no comparison, right? It's the best. Like, if you talk to developers who are developing on Solana and Ethereum, it's night and day, right? Like, it's much easier to develop on the EVM. It's a much more mature open source culture, and when you look at like chains, even new chains that are coming live, like with Monad, Mega ETH, Bera chain, Rise chain, like all of these, like the EVM is getting better, right? Some people are parallelizing it, like it's being worked on, it's getting better. Base Jesse has famously said that, like, he believes that Base will be faster and cheaper by the end of the year than Solana, right? So let's see if he's right. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of optimism around the EVM, and I think right now, for me, like, I've again tweeted about this a few days ago. I think that if I was like building an app, I would probably think about building it either on like Base, Arbitrum, or Solana. If it's a DeFi protocol or like a stablecoin project, Ethereum, right? The same way that like Aave is the biggest on Ethereum.
Yes.
Ethena is the biggest on Ethereum. Like, all of these Circle, Supply, like all of these things need to be on Ethereum. It's like the issuance network, I would call it. But if you're building like a consumer application or something, it's probably like one of these other chains, or an app chain. An app chain, I think, is a very valid way of building a product as well, especially if you don't need composability so much, right? Like a perp exchange or like a GambleFi casino, whatever. It's something where you don't need to like have atomic composability so much.
100%.
So and then you have some upcoming, like some like strong competitors, like a Mantle, Abstract. Like, it's I don't know. There's a lot of good ecosystems to build on, I think, but I wouldn't say that it's like doom and gloom. Like, one is the absolute winner, the other one is like left behind. They're
going to coexist.
Exactly, they're going to coexist. They have their own BD teams that are going after different teams and use cases, and the pie is big, I think. So all of them will eat.
That's awesome. All right, the most interesting question of this entire episode, the Tales of Web3 story of Lito. So the story can be about anything of all these years, your journey in crypto. It can be about like risk taking. you're taking big risks. It can be about, full of unexpected twist, randomness. It can be about something silly but fun. But I want this to be a story that people can be remembered, right? Only Lito can do. And this is the kind of stuff that you've done before that shaped who you are today. The stage is yours.
It's interesting. I think in the context of crypto, I think something not many people know about me is that I was actually, before joining Hop, the first project that I wasn't formally an employee, because those days where it was wild, right? DeFi summer, it wasn't like that. You weren't really an employee of a project. You
just contribute. You just start contributing.
Exactly. You just contribute. Exactly.
I feel you.
So that was the first project that I ever contributed towards. It just happened randomly. It was called Indexed Finance, and it was like an index product, a bit like Index Co-op. And I just stumbled upon it in the midst of this DeFi summer craziness. It was completely overlooked. Had no users virtually. I don't even know how I found it, but it was like through some weird circumstances I found it, and I looked at it, and it was actually really cool, and I started using it, putting some funds in, and back then it was like this pool 2 stuff or farming stuff. So because I was the only user, I got some big, some big amounts of tokens, which were worth nothing, right? Because the project was under the radar.
Yeah.
But then I started talking about it on Twitter and so on, and basically the developer behind this project was like a genius, or still is. His name is Dylan Keller, and he, for example, just to give you an example, he coded like the new OpenSea marketplace contracts called Seaport, which are like
the one that recently launched.
Exactly. So he wrote all of that in like assembly. He's really, really, really good.
That's pretty dope.
Essentially, the project was lacking marketing, but had a very strong technical founder. And so, I joined. I started talking about it on crypto Twitter, and then it got a lot of like attention, as it was back then. It was, you remember, right? Like from one moment to the other, suddenly things go
things go wild,
and viral. Exactly, just out of proportion, right? Like, and so within I remember like 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we grew from like 0 to 150 million TVL or something. There was this moment. Yeah, I sent like. Yeah, the moment I remember now, it comes back. Like I sent like a message to Molly Wintermute from Hedgewood, right? Who was like a prolific developer at the time, and I sent her a message and I was like, "Look at this index; it's totally down your alley." And I go to bed. The next morning, I wake up and to a tweet of her saying like that she basically invested in NDX, like the token of this index platform, and in like an OTC swap with Dylan, was the developer, and then things just went completely crazy from there. Yeah, rocket ship, and that was just an insane experience from how like something can go from like 0 to 100. And
there were literally just yourself.
Exactly.
Oh my god!
And so I started contributing more actively to that project because I realized there's like a void to be filled here, and so interestingly, the other person that got really involved there, along with me, is called Lawrence, and you probably know him from Twitter, Lawrence Day, like
yes.
Irish guy. No, I don't even think he's Irish.
Pretty cool guy.
In the UK. Yeah, but like exactly, super funny guy. So I got to know him quite well during that time. We both worked on that project for like 6 months or something. Then I left, and shortly after, I left to join Hop, and then shortly after it got hacked, which was another crazy sort of.
And which is pretty common back in the days.
Exactly. But so so just to like close the circle, or why this is a crazy story, it's like this guy, is now an internationally wanted criminal, this Andrean Medjedovic, and he is the same guy who hacked KyberSwap. So in total, he
shit!
stole
Seriously?
Yeah, he's that same guy. And so now
Damn.
there's like a Netflix documentary that's going to be released, and because of my involvement back in the days in that project, I'm actually in that documentary. So that is a crazy story.
I'm looking forward.
Yeah.
What is the name of the documentary?
It's called Code is Law.
Code is Law.
I have a very small.
Let's go for it.
I still think it's a fun fact or whatever, and I think I would never believe that I would be featured in a movie one day. So yeah. Stay tuned for that one.
Love that story. Yeah. We're gonna make a separate clip just for that.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I think like one of the questions like were about like asking what's your like superpower, right? Like being able to survive and still very energetic. I actually think it's your curiosity and like the spirit of like just lean in, right? I think a key about like crypto, a really beautiful thing that I really like is if you like something, you just start contributing, right? Even if you're not an employee, even if you don't even know the founders, you contribute, 100%. You start to show it. And oftentimes the beautiful things turn out to be in the end.
Yeah, right? I agree, 100%.
That's awesome. All right, one last question before I let you go. Please show hard on everything exciting about SOCKET Bungee's roadmap. How can people participate? How can they join the community as a champion? And please.
Yeah, right. So we actually we're really kind of turning it up a notch in terms of community building. So up until here, like community was kind of like I wouldn't call it an afterthought, but like we didn't have a clear use for community. Community was just our users. Now we're kind of preparing for the next chapter of Socket, and because we're actually turning into a full-fledged protocol, we want to involve people more, right? And one way we're doing this is we've recently launched like the Socket Society.
Nice.
So this is kind of like a community gate. My experience with communities, you need to make it sort of hard to enter, right? You need to make it feel exclusive, special, and sort of like filter who can join and who cannot join. So we recently like launched a quiz, like a super hard like crypto knowledge quiz that was released and then taken down 2 or 3 days later, which allowed people to join the Socket Society. From like 2,000 people, like 600, 700 got in. And so now we're doing a bunch of stuff within that society. It's pretty cool. And we're looking for a bunch of other ways in the future to let more people in, but always like, it will always be sort of like selective and hard and special. And so yeah, like I think, watch out for these ways to be part of it. It's definitely going to be worth your while. And then product wise, I think, we're building the new version of Bungee at the moment. So it's like a much faster, much better version of Bungee, which you can use right now in beta under the URL new.bungee.exchange. So new.bungee.exchange. And that one is super popular because it's, again, super fast. You can swap any token for any other token on any other chain. But the only thing is that it was like capped in amount until now. In like a week or so, we're gonna lift the cap, and you're gonna be able to swap any amount. And so I think that's gonna be cool for people. And then also watch out for a lot of like wallets and apps that are gonna go live with this unified balance type of UX that I described before. So
thank you so much, Lito.
No worries.
All right. If you haven't followed them already, please follow Lito, Bungee, and Socket on Twitter. I'm going to tag them when this episode is officially out next week. But here we wrap up.
Thank you, Ricky. Take care.